Hi, my name is Randy Beckett. I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and the Vice President of Clinical Services for Encounter Telehealth. Thank you for joining this brief video. And what we're going to talk about today is how we can personally do better when dealing with difficult people, whether it be our coworkers, residents, family. Okay? And this is going to be based on something called the 4 agreements. And you can Google that, the 4 agreements, and look up what I'm talking about today. And it's really important, and it will just take a few minutes, so thank you. So there are 4 agreements, and the first one is be impeccable with your word. And what does this mean? Well, it means several things. First of all, speak with integrity. We have to watch what we say because watching what we say is important, because what comes out of our mouth not only creates an environment or an energy around us, but also it resonates back to what we feel inside of us. And say only what we mean. That means you just need to be very direct and don't just say things off of the top of your head that may not exactly be what you mean, but be earnest in what you talk about. Avoid using, and this is really important, avoid using your words to speak against others or yourself. Okay? So what does this mean? Well, sometimes we have difficult people in our life, and one of the first things we want to do is go to somebody else and say, do you know what Susan did today? Or do you know what Susan said today? And basically we're repeating what happened to us, which in other words makes us suffer. And of course we love to commiserate with other people, but does it really do any good? Okay, it really doesn't. So we want to be very careful with what we say about others. And then we also want to be careful about what we say about ourselves. So many of us say, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or "Oh, I can't do anything right," or "I'm just so unlucky," or "I'm unhappy," or just be careful what you say, because once again, that comes back and stays within us, and we're talking about ourselves. Be kind to ourselves. Sure, you might be having a bad time, and you can say, "I'm really having a bad time right now, and I really am having a hard time, and I'm feeling kind of down." That's a lot different than saying, "I can't do anything right," or "I'm stupid," or "I'm a failure." Okay, those are labels and attacks on yourself or others when you use them. But saying how you feel is a legitimate way to express yourself. And try to use your words in the power of truth, saying what's true with integrity, and also with love. And by that I mean kindness and humility. Okay, so be impeccable with your word is agreement number 1. Number 2 is don't take anything personally. Nothing, and this is so important, nothing others do is because of you. It's because of them. It's coming from them. Now, they may project their stuff onto you, but nothing others do is because of you, because they can choose how to respond to what you do. So, so nothing what they say or do is because of you. So if there's a difficult resident, they're not being difficult because of you or a family member or a coworker. They're being difficult because of themselves and what they're going through. And what others say or do is a projection of what's going on in their own reality. Okay, it's not because of you. You can't make someone angry. If you say something to someone, if someone says to me, for example, "Boy, that shirt really looks wrinkly on you," I can choose to think, "Wow, I really feel bad about that, and that's really mean." Or I can just say, "I don't care, it's your opinion. Yeah, it is wrinkled, so what?" So what others say or do, you have a choice of what you think about that. And when you become immune to the opinions and actions of others, then you won't be the victim of needless suffering. So when you remember that nothing what you say or do it makes somebody else do something, and when you become immune to that and saying, well, that's just their opinion, okay? Or when you're having a difficult time with a resident and they're being obnoxious or rude or very difficult or maybe even aggressive or violent, that's not because of you. That's because of their own reality. And their own reality might be based in mental illness. It might be based in dementia. It might be based in something that happened to them a half hour ago. It's not because of you. And don't make assumptions. So the thing about assumptions is Susan's walking down the hall this morning and she doesn't say hello to you. And the assumption is, oh, Susan must be mad at me. She didn't say hello to me today. Or you walk into a room and a resident is always very nice and bubbly and just snaps at you like that. Don't make assumptions that there's something that you did, okay? If Susan walks by and doesn't say hello, have the courage later to go up to Susan and say, hey, Susan, I noticed when we passed this morning in the hallway that we usually say hello, and I didn't hear you say hello. I was just wondering if anything was going on. Now that takes some courage, but that courage and knowing is better than the suffering of saying, oh, Susan's mad at me, or that resident is mad at me because, they responded in a certain way to me. So have the courage to ask questions and not make assumptions. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid these mistakes about mind reading, that you think that you know what they're thinking, or assuming that you know what they're thinking. I know Bob doesn't like me. Well, how do you know Bob doesn't like me? Oh, I can just feel it. Not really, okay? You don't know what's going on in Bob's head. Remember, what Bob says or does is not because of you. It's a projection of his own reality. Now, if Bob is important enough for you that you have a concern about that, then you just communicate, hey, Bob, what's going on? I've just felt like we've been a little disconnected lately, or I've just felt like, things have been going on, between us. So that's really important. So with just this one agreement, you can totally transform your life, because you're not making assumptions and you're checking the evidence out for what it is that you're thinking. And the last one is always do your best. And so that goes with all these things, with being impeccable with your word, with not taking things personally, with not making assumptions. So, things are going to change from moment to moment. And so, doing our best at following these 4 agreements is really important, and we're going to fail sometimes, okay? It's just the way it is. But doing our best at trying to work through them is really, really important, and doing our best to communicate with others, and under any circumstance, just simply do your best at that time. You might be feeling down yourself that day. You might be feeling ill. You might not have slept good that night. You always won't be at your best, but you can do your best under the circumstances. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope this has been helpful. You can Google the 4 agreements and click images, and there's things you can print out or order to help you remember this. And I would suggest reading the 4 agreements daily, and so you can get these ideas into your daily life and help you get along in your life better. My name's Randy Beckett. I'm with Encounter Telehealth. Thank you very much.